Hi, this is a tarot reading for around this time. I've called it Summer 2024, which corresponds to my hemisphere. I'm in the UK, but it's for this time, June. And I pulled the cards yesterday, which was the 27th. Today is the 28th of June. It doesn't correspond to any particular astrological event or any date. It's just for around this time. And what I've done is pulled a signifier, which is a card that contextualizes the rest of the spread, and then a set of cards for various areas of the body, and each area corresponds to different sort of concerns. They've all got different associations. And those areas, are the root chakra, the Hara, the heart chakra, the throat, which I've called communication, the third eye, which I've called knowing, and the crown, which I've called guidance. And for each of those, I've asked a set of 4 questions. First of all, one card for the prevailing energy for that area, and then I've used a set of questions that I use all the time. They come from Bridget Esselmont of Biddy Tarot. I think they're brilliant. They work for all sorts of spreads, and they are what to do more of, what to do less of, and what to carry on doing. The first card we're going to look at is the signifier, the one that contextualizes all the other cards. And in this spread, it is the Two of Wands reversed. Now, in this image, we've got a guy standing on what look like the battlements of a fort or a castle or something pretty secure anyway. So he's safe, and he's looking out over the view ahead of him, planning his journey. In his hands, he's holding planet Earth, and that can represent a map or an atlas or a globe, something that he's using to plan his journey. However, if you've ever read tarot, you may have experienced that in different readings, different aspects of a card really pop out at you and become prominent. And for this reading, that planet Earth really did become very, very obvious. And I feel that it signifies a burgeoning awareness of being a member of Team Earth, as it were. You know, that each of us is an important component of our communities, of the global community, and of the beautiful and wonderful ecosystem that is the Earth itself. The wands are fire energy, so there's also a sense of an energy that comes from beneath, that one may experience as coming from the earth or from the gut area. It's not so much a language of words as it is a language of instinct, of knowledge, perhaps also ancestral knowledge, of feeling, and that this is something that is contributing to his planning. Now it's reversed, so this is an internal process on a sort of global level, but also for individuals and communities. It's a thought process, a feeling process, and I keep talking about a journey, but this is less about actual moving physically from one place to another, though it could involve that, and more about the journey of our evolution. You know, what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of community do I want to live in? What kind of people do we want to be? What are our beliefs? What's right? How do I get from where I am to where I want to be in terms of who I am? Am I on the right journey? Do I need to sort of reroute myself? It's a very profound time. It's a time of the beginning of really significant movement. So we're not talking about speed here, we're talking about the contemplation phase, which may involve some movement, but it's considered movement. And because it's fire energy, it may not be sort of consciously considered, but there is this awareness that the choices we are making at this time are quite significant for the direction that we're all headed, individually and as communities. So within that context of the Two of Wands reversed, we're going to look at the various areas of the body. And the first area is the root. And I'm not using any out-of-body chakras for this reading. So this is the one that is most associated with the earth. So it's about our connection with the earth and connected with our physical existence. It's about our survival, about keeping ourselves safe, thinking about food, thinking about shelter, thinking about income, all those kinds of things, protecting ourselves, protecting our families, protecting our communities. And the card in the position of the prevailing energy is the Fool. Now, this is a bit of a surprise when it emerged, because when I saw it, I thought, oh, when it comes to maintaining our sense of safety in a sort of basic survival sense, there's a lot going on that could make us feel very unsafe. But here we've got the Fool, who is all about having faith. And you can see in the image, he's about to step over the edge of a cliff, and he's not even really looking, because he just knows everything's going to be okay, or he has faith that everything's going to be okay. He doesn't actually know what's going to happen, but he knows or believes that everything will work out. Perhaps not immediately, but it will work out. Now, there's another meaning to it here. It came to me as I was looking at the Fool card. And when something sort of really pops in strong, I think, well, I better include it. And that's the association with the role of the fool or the wit at court. And this character, his job was to hang about with the king, and very specifically to use his wit, sometimes very sharp wit, to bring the king down to earth when the king might have got carried away or become caught up in his own power, perhaps even arrogance, perhaps everybody else he's surrounded with sort of sycophantic type people. The role of the Fool was to be a counterbalance to all that, and not so much to, come out and entertain people at feasts, so that might also have been part of his role, but this was what it was basically there for. And so why is it showing up in this reading like this? If you think about it, again, we're looking at the root area. So in a real tangible way, there's this energy of questioning, standing up to, maybe puncturing the arrogance of those who would be kings. And combined with this sense of things are going to be okay, there are elements of taking risks, of not knowing what outcomes will be, but having faith that this feels like the right thing to do, that it's somehow, how should I say it, it's almost like it's protected. That's not quite the right word, but it's close enough to what I'm trying to say, I think. And then moving on, in the position of what to do more of, we've got the World reversed. Now, what's kind of interesting about this is that the Fool is the first card on the Fool's journey, which some call the hero's journey, and the World is the last card. It's the end of that journey. And here it is reversed. Again, there's two meanings to this in this position. One is do more of becoming aware of the world that we hold within us. If as our understanding of the connection between all things grows and becomes more conscious, we can connect to that very sort of alive sense of the connection with all other things. And that's rather beautiful to have there. The other meaning is that the world for many, many people has kind of turned upside down. For others, it is turning, and the momentum of that doesn't look like it's going to slow down in a hurry. And that's probably more accurate to talk about in terms of the way that we have understood the world to be. And as it's in this position of something to do more of, it's a sense of accepting that, perhaps going so far as to welcome that, though if that's tricky, then moving towards a sense of acceptance and perhaps moving beyond any resistance to that. It is just how it is right now. And then moving on to the next card, we have the Eight of Cups reversed. Cups is water energy, that's to do with the emotions, sometimes the unconscious, also creativity and so on. But here in this position, I think it is to do with emotions. The figure in that card is moving away from some quite neatly stacked cups that he's sorted out. You know, they're not all sort of kicked over in a pile. They're neatly stacked because he's gone through them and he's moving away from them, going towards wherever he wants to go, knowing that he can leave them behind. He doesn't have to carry them with him anymore. And as it's reversed here and in that position of what to do less of, the meaning is to move away from prevarication. You know, oh, have I really sorted that out? Do I need to go back and look at it again? How many times do I need to try to sort this out before I can either fix it or move away? There's that sort of push me pull you that holds us in place and prevents us from being able to move forward. So less of that. The body knows, we're at the root. The body really does know when we're done with something, even if we resist that, if it's painful. But as best we can, it's time to move forwards and leave behind that which we really don't need to carry anymore. And then in the position of carry on doing, it's the Three of Wands, which is the card that's one step further than the Signifier, the Two of Wands, also reversed. And you can see the guy, he's no longer on the battlements, he's no longer on the building, he's actually moved out into the world. He's still sort of planning and contemplating, but he's taken the step. You know, he's one step further on his journey, and now he's considering how to continue. Again, that fire energy, so again being guided by the gut, by the earth, by that deep knowing within. And perhaps he's having a little argument with his head, perhaps he's just having a rest, but that's something to carry on doing. We just keep going, keep checking in, keep going. This is quite a profound journey that we're talking about, and if we need to take time out to just pause and consider, well, we should take it. And that's pretty much where we are at the root. Now we're moving to the Hara, and I chose to read on the Hara rather than the sacral chakra, maybe the navel and the solar plexus as well, because there's something that seems really appropriate about the Hara, and that is the area in the body underneath the navel, kind of the abdomen, and it encompasses some of the reproductive organs, and it's considered to be like the center of gravity of the body. It's where our energy is rooted. It's where if we can bring ourselves down into that part of our body, we really get grounded into who we are. It helps our stability, it helps our resilience, it helps us stand firm upon the earth. A lower center of gravity means that things are more stable. So there's something about that. It's also considered to be the wellspring of our life force energy. So not only does it hold us firm, but it's also where if we can nurture that area, we give ourselves a whole lot of that energy that we need. And the more we can produce, the more we've got to use, basically. So that's the Hara. And the first card that came out, the one that's about the prevailing energy, is the Empress. And I almost couldn't believe it when I saw that this was the card, because it's a beautiful card, and it is also the card that is most closely aligned with the divine feminine. And the Hara, to my mind, is an area where women have their wombs. It's the sort of fountain of birthing, of ultimate creativity, right? So there's something really beautiful about that. And there's something about the energy of the divine feminine too. And as I talk about the divine feminine, I'm talking about the healed, healthy divine feminine, which is quite different from the wounded divine feminine. The healthy divine feminine is partly as the Empress is depicted here. She's serene, she's calm, she's beautiful, she's those aspects of Mother Nature that create the beautiful flowers and the crops and the trees and all the beautiful creatures. She's nurturing. But another aspect of the Divine Feminine is the more messy aspects of creation, the chaos that can come with certain stages of creation, the wild power that is associated with this energy. If we think about Mother Nature, not only does she create all those beautiful things, but she also creates volcanoes, which are, I mean, that's fire energy incarnate, isn't it? And it arises up from the earth and into the atmosphere. It's chaotic, it's very messy, it's quite destructive, and at the same time, some of the soil that you eventually get from sort of volcanic eruptions is incredibly fertile. So that is the prevailing energy of this part of the body, that both the stability, the connection with the earth, the rootedness in that area of our body which is both stable and highly creative. What we do more of, we've got the 3 of coins, that's earth energy, so quite practical. It's about stuff, yes, money, it's coins, but also things that are to do with the root basic sort of structures and food and how we survive and all that kind of stuff. And here we have 3 people of different professions who have worked together or are working together to build something. So that's a very clear message about coming together in community to build. That's how we build stuff. We do it together. What we do less of, in that position we have the 6 of Cups, and that's a card. It has many different meanings, but because it's in this position, what to do less of, I would say it's stop or do less of looking back with nostalgia at the past through rose-tinted glasses. Don't let yourself be held back by the past, but seen in this kind of rosy light. We are all evolving, we are all moving forward, and that isn't helpful in that context. And then in the position of carry on doing, we've got the Emperor. So that's the counterpart to the Empress. Now it's funny, when this card came out, my first reaction was, ugh, because at this point in time, my associations with the Emperor are more about the wounded, the unhealed masculine, which is to do with power and control and aspects of destruction and bullying and manipulation in order to gain yet more power and so on. However, in this position, this is the healed masculine, and the healed masculine supports the healed feminine in her creation by providing stability, direction and guidance. It's a very nurturing energy in quite a different way from the way that the Divine Feminine is. And there's something about inviting that in. There's a lot of wounded masculine energy around, and we can look outward and see it, but it's something that we all carry within ourselves as well. It's that voice that is cruel, that wants to suppress certain things because they're not in the interests of climbing up the corporate ladder, say, or gaining power over others. I mean, these are, I'm talking about extreme examples, but I think many of us will recognize that voice within us. Isn't don't say that, don't do that, don't behave like that, and has been involved for millennia in suppressing the Divine Feminine within all of us. And there are many ways that one can see how that's happened, about this is how a woman, and I'm not talking about women and men, these are energies that exist within both women and men, exist within all people, but they can manifest through the way that the genders are treated and see each other and see themselves over time. So there has been a dominance of the wounded masculine, hasn't there, in terms of keeping the wilder elements of the female tamed, shall we say. So as the divine feminine arises, she actually invites the healed divine feminine, she actually invites the masculine to heal. She invites that wonderful relationship to blossom and for a movement into healing for the divine masculine. And when it says here what to do more of, that's something we can do within ourselves. And this may all sound very abstract and esoteric, but when we reduce it down to those internal voices, I think that's where we can maybe spot things. And that's where we actually have the agency to create change, because it's very easy to look outwards and say, that person's doing this, this company's doing that, that government's doing that, that's terrible. But it's when we spot it and work with it within ourselves that we can actually sort of sow the seeds for this to happen on a wider basis. And now moving on to the heart. And the heart is that other great centre of communication. It's through the heart that we experience the beauty of the world, the beauty of relationships, the beauty of love. It's through the heart that we feel things, and we can communicate through the heart. Not all communication is spoken, after all, is it? And in the position of the prevailing energy, we've got the Page of Wands, so that's that fire energy again. And pages all have this really lovely, youthful energy. So fire energy, remember, this is a page who's motivated by what fires him up, what inspires him, where his gut takes him. And because he's youthful, he's curious, he's interested in new experiences, in listening to what people have to say. And I know it's a stereotype, but we do tend to say that the older we get, the less likely we are to open ourselves up to new ideas, to new thinking, to new feelings. But what this card is saying in this position is maybe that's something that is happening and that we could engage with. And then in the position of what to do more of, here's the Emperor again. This time he's reversed. So what do we do more of? We connect with that healed divine masculine we were talking about internally as it's reversed, but a double meaning here as well. We release as much as we are able to, perhaps bit by bit, that wounded masculine energy, that controlling, cold, manipulative energy. And I think that's enough said. I've talked about him quite a lot already. Another card that's reappeared in the position of what to do less of is the Three of Coins, reversed this time. And that's about not working together properly, really. I mean, the heart is all about connection. And so we want to connect. A lot of these cards are about connection with ourselves, connection with our instincts, connection with the earth, connection with other people, connection with our communities, and especially on the level of the heart. This is something that we're being invited to do. So less disconnection. We are better off working together. And then in the position of what to carry on doing, that's a beautiful celebratory card. It's the Ten of Cups, so water, emotions again, that's a family there, so it's a celebration of community, whether that's our own specific families or in a wider sense. It's also the end of a cycle, so it's a kind of maturity in that water element, and a realization and an awareness of the beauty of community and family. And as it is reversed and in that position, I would say that is something internal as well. Whatever we're experiencing on the outside is something we can carry within us in our hearts. If it's something that if we don't have that, we don't have family around us, we're not in a position to be able to celebrate, it's a knowledge and an understanding and a memory, hopefully, of that feeling, and a knowing that is an aspect of our humanity. Right, now we're in the area of the throat, which I've called communication because that's what it's all about. And in the position of prevailing energy, we've got the 10 of coins. So that's another 10, another end of a cycle. And it's an interesting one. In this position of throat and communication, it's to do with appreciating the stability of its family again, but in a different way. This is about an awareness of the generations, of our place within our ancestry, of the knowledge that we have within us, whether that's through conversations with parents, grandparents, even great-grandparents, other family members, our children, grandchildren, and also perhaps ancestral knowledge. It's a very grounded energy, and it's a very stable and kind of secure and appreciative energy. So it's a strong place to communicate from. We know more than we think we do. We often know more than we think we do. And then the Fool has come again. I've been really surprised at how many of these cards have come up more than once or even twice. And here he is. So it's again about having faith and about taking that leap of faith, about speaking from our authentic self, speaking authentically, saying what we mean to say, taking the risk of doing that with the belief, with the understanding that in the end, or even perhaps immediately, it will be okay. What to do less of is to withdraw into silence. That's the Hermit reversed. The Hermit is a beautiful card in many situations, but in this one, we're being guided not to withdraw into silent contemplation, not in the area of communication. It is a time for communication. It is a time for collaboration. It is a time for, if we go back to that Signifier card and the guy deciding how he's going to make his journey and where he wants to end up, part of the process of that is, it becomes clearer and clearer as we look at the cards, is connecting with so many different aspects of ourselves, within ourselves, but also with other people, with communities. So withdrawing into solitude in this area is not advised. And what we carry on doing, again, we've got that 3 of coins. This is the 3rd time it's shown up, and it is communicating together. Coins again, so building through communication. That's how we grow. So here we are in the position of the 3rd eye, or what I've called knowing. And that refers to seeing more than what our eyes immediately reveal to us, hearing more than what our ears immediately let us hear, sensing things, So we've got in the position of the prevailing energy, the Fool, again for the 3rd time. This time he's reversed. So it's again about having that faith and that trust in the unknown, what lies beyond that cliff. But because it's reversed and in this position, this is about an inner process. It's about having faith that what we think we may be seeing or hearing or sensing or knowing is actually what we're seeing, hearing, sensing or knowing. And that can be a little bit disconcerting at first, or not even at first. Sometimes we're like, am I just making that up? Is that true? Is that what's going on here? But have faith. And that message is emphasized by the card in the position of what to do more of, which is the Chariot reversed. So again, an inner process. And I love this card. I think it's quite an interesting one because at first glance it looks as though, the charioteer, he's driving his chariot forward, he full steam ahead, and he knows exactly where he's going, where he's going to go, where he wants to go. He's not distracted by anything to the left or to the right. But if you look at the card, he's not actually driving it. He's just letting himself be taken forward by the chariot. And there's a sense of balance there. There's the sphinxes, the black and white sphinxes. And he's perfectly stable and happy to allow that to happen. So it's a real message of allow yourself to have faith that what you believe you're experiencing, you are actually experiencing, and allow that to lead you forwards, to guide you in the direction that you're being guided. And then in the position of what to do less of is basically less crying over spilt milk. Right, so water, the emotions, you've got this guy he's looking at the spilt cups, he's really upset, and he's so focused on them that he can't see the cups that are not spilt behind him. And he also has got to turn round in order to find the path to get to that bridge in the background, which is going to take him to where he wants to go. So that's quite a clear message too, isn't it? So focus less on what's sad or upsetting, or there's something about allowing ourselves to be upset. Sure, we don't pretend they're not happening, but don't get so fixated on them that we can't turn around and see what there actually is for us available, if only we were to change our position and look around. And then in that last position of what to carry on doing, we've got the Wheel of Fortune reversed. And there's something here about allowing things to happen. The Wheel of Fortune, and that's internally again. So sometimes with the Wheel of Fortune, we don't know what's going to happen in 2 days or 3 weeks or 3 months. We don't know what this next step that we take, where it's going to take us. If it were a maze, we wouldn't be able to see around the next corner. We'd have to take ourselves there. So there's something about allowing it. We can't stop the wheel of fate. So carry on allowing the fact that we can't know what's beyond our next step. And this harks back to that signifier and the Three of Wands we had in the position of root. We take the next step and then we pause and reconsider and reorient ourselves once again. Okay, and then the last one we've got here is the crown, or what I've called guidance. So that is guidance from a higher self, from spirit guides, from source, from wherever any of us would like to believe that we are given guidance. And the first card, the one about the prevailing energy, is it's another 10. It's not as celebratory as the other two. This one is very much about recognizing that we're at the end of a particular cycle. Now, this guy is carrying this huge load of wands, and he's holding them in such a way that he can't even stand up properly. He can't see what's in front of him because they're blocking his way. But the way he can move forward is to just drop them. He's the one who's carrying them. They're not tied to him or anything. So there's a realization of having reached the end of a cycle, and whereas the other cards might provide a really solid foundation, a joyous and stable foundations from which to move into the beginning of the next cycle, this one is much more about a recognition that there's nothing more I can learn here. I need to drop the sticks. I need to clear my vision in order to be able to move on to the next cycle. So there's something about the vision I keep seeing is somebody who's putting their hands over their eyes because they don't want to see, and then they believe that they can't see, but the only reason that they can't see is because they've got their hands over their eyes. So there's something about recognizing that we are right at the point of being able to take our hands away from our eyes, or because of the fact that this is about looking at guidance in the crown area from the top of our heads and allowing that guidance to come in. What we can do more of, that's the Three of Swords. That's about taking time out. It's about, it needn't be meditation, but making the opportunity, if possible, it's not possible for everybody, but it's something we can do as a community too, to just allow a certain, or even create, force if necessary, a sort of a state of stillness so that we can actually receive and contemplate. There's so much noise, isn't there, of all kinds, that it can sometimes be really difficult just to open to whatever guidance may be available to us. And you could call that intuition, you could call that the wisdom that kind of just seems to arise from the unconscious, from the silence that we allow ourselves from time to time. And by the way, this is different from that hermit energy there in the position of what to do less of in the communication area. That's about withdrawing from society and isolating. This is about creating stillness, which we can do alone, but we can also do together. So more of that, to be able to listen to that still small voice of calm. And then what to do less of. This is funny to have that here because it's a beautiful card. It's the Ace of Wands. So the Ace of Wands can be great. It's like the beginning of a cycle, inspiration, something that is handed to us from the heavens, like this hand coming out of a cloud there. So it's less of waiting for a saviour. What we're listening for is that still small voice of calm, and we've got to create the circumstances to be able to hear it. And that there has been conversation about something happening that's just going to save us all, and very clearly here, that's something to do less of. What's going to save us comes from within. It's not going to be handed to us on a plate from somebody else, by somebody else. And then we've got the last card, what to carry on doing. And that's the Knight of Cups. Now, the Knight of Cups is the most romantic of all the knights. He's led by his heart, that cup that he's carrying, the water element. So, as I said before, creativity, emotions, unconscious. It's a rather beautiful energy. It's also connected, of all the suits, it's the suit that is most connected to spirituality. So he is moving forward. He's a knight, so he's not as youthful and naive and innocent and open as the pages. He's more adult. Knights are inclined towards action, but any action that he's taking is being led by that cup, which is he's carrying before him. So in this area of guidance, it's being led to action by the guidance that we are given, and that is the last card. So now, in summary, I'm looking at all the cards, and it is a very profound spread. The Signifier might initially seem like not a very significant card because it's minor arcana, it's the beginning of a cycle, but actually the indications are that it creates a context for really taking quite seriously all the choices that are being given to us, and the cards in all the various areas, the number of the major arcana, and the repetition of some of these messages are really hammering home the message that the choices that we are being given, that we might be giving ourselves, really need to be afforded the respect that they are due. The choices we make at this point now are important, and are important for us collectively, as I keep saying, they really are. But also, the choices that we make on a day-to-day basis are taking us each down a particular path, and we can consider and maybe reconsider the route that we're taking and the decisions that we're making. But this is a period, as is the case for any kind of period in time, this is a window which will not stay open forever, or it's not that we're going to stop being able to make choices, but the significance of these choices and how meaningful the steps that we take at this time are is going to change as all things change. So it's about paying attention and really going, I would really like to be taking steps that take me in the direction that I want to go, and not just my head, but my heart, my Hara, my greater knowing. And there's something to be said for connecting with all of these as much as possible, because these choices matter. They really do. And we've got a lot of support at this time. There's some beautiful cards here. Despite what I had expected, if I'm honest, it's a much gentler reading than I thought it was going to be, which is a lovely surprise. But it's also weightier in some ways. There's a greater profundity than I had expected. And though it's a beautiful reading, it also invites a sense of responsibility for each of us in taking us forward in the directions that we want to go. All right, I hope that has been of some help, and thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.